This video is mostly going to be more of a ramble for the most part, but I just want to talk a little bit about the current state of dating as a Christian guy and kind of what that looks like, and a few of the kind of situations that a lot of Christian guys have gotten into, but also kind of what that looks like and what I think kind of leads to these situations, and a lot of the outlooks that this kind of ends up as. But kind of starts off as, I think a lot of the Christian guys kind of end up wanting to look for kind of that stereotypical relationship where you find that one girl and then you guys just hit it off and everything's great. And you stay in that one relationship and it's great, it's amazing, everything's just going well, nothing to complain about. You end up getting married, and that's the case for a few of us, but not the case for the vast majority of us. And why that is could vary quite a bit, but what that could look like for a lot of guys could be, there may be that one girl that you get into a relationship with where, you put everything into, and then it doesn't work out for one reason or another. And those reasons could vary quite a bit, but I know for a lot of us it just has been that as the guy, maybe you just weren't at that place that you needed to be to have that serious relationship, and it ends up with you getting cheated on, or maybe she just doesn't think that you are where you need to be yet. But how it ends up in that place could be really a wide variety of things. Again, maybe it's not necessarily getting cheated on. Oop. Sorry, my pump's getting mad at me. I have type 1 diabetes, so anyway, this is just a ramble. I'm not really going to edit this at all, but at least I'm just kind of trying to talk on the experiences that a lot of guys have, and like as a 23-year-old guy, what that kind of looks like, kind of where this kind of tends to come from. Just a lot of the stories that I've heard from other guys, and there's a lot of guys that have never had a girlfriend, and they don't even know, whether their expectations are accurate or, I think their expectations are accurate. I think their likelihood of finding that isn't necessarily accurate, but basically going through that and finding what that could turn into could be accurate. But again, that first relationship or situationship, I know just the experience that I'm talking about comes from not only me, but it also comes from potentially all these other guys that I've talked to, been around, their frustrations, and even some girls, because I know that they are, some girls are frustrated because guys aren't coming up to them and ask them out on dates. Some guys just don't even want to ask girls on dates. And I'm part of a pretty big young adult group. I also go over to a neighboring city that has a lot, has probably almost 1,000 young adults, Christian young adults, that get together and talk about that, which is not a small sample size by any means, but just run into a lot of the same things. And so I just want to talk about a lot of the main frustrations that come from those guys, and then a lot of frustrations that I hear coming from those girls. And again, I know right now I just out here in a muscle shirt here. It's 100 degrees outside, but I want to do this outside. But kind of what I've seen is in relationships nowadays, there's a lot of hidden expectations, I guess, where, you know, as a guy, you kind of are looking for a girl that wants to have the same type of relationship. And a lot of the guys, if it's their first relationship, they don't even know what necessarily that looks like. Maybe they have those expectations. A lot of the girls definitely have those expectations as well. They may look like something different, and as a guy, it's really hard to find that girl that has the same expectations but actually cares about finding those with that guy that is at that starting point in his life, in his career. Because, man, I mean, it is super difficult to find. I mean, as a guy that's 23, if I'm looking for a girl that's looking for the same things that I'm looking for, I basically have to look for, maybe she is in her, I mean, maybe out of high school now looking at getting married right off the bat, or maybe she's looking to go to college and find a career. As a guy that has a business that I've been building since high school, I'm kind of at that same stage that a lot of guys are that are just coming out of college, except I've already built that career that they are just looking for. And maybe it could be kind of bleak for a lot of them because they're having to compete with a lot of, maybe they're looking for girls that are the exact same age as them, but now they're having to compete with those guys that have been out in the industry building their skill set for that extended period of time. And that's not an easy thing to do by any means, because as a guy, what is attractive more so than just necessarily the looks is what you've built, right? And in this day and age, it's kind of hard to build by yourself now. I know for me personally, my choices were that I'm just going to go out and build a business because I didn't think it made sense to go out and just build a career, because those careers are, honestly, they don't make a whole lot of sense. They seem to be, honestly, you could spend years and years building up to this career and it couldn't necessarily even go anywhere, and now here you are really wanting to kind of build a family, but yet that career can't even do that, just from your own. And I know a lot of girls are looking for a guy that can just build that, and it's not necessarily realistic what a lot of these girls are expecting. And a lot of these guys, it's not that they don't want to provide that, it's just that it's very difficult for them to provide something like that. And I've talked to a lot of guys who have really wanted to build all that, but then it just may not work out for whatever reason. Some of these guys maybe went to a tech school for a couple years, maybe become an electrician or a truck driver or something that really is needed in this day and age, have a great career for them, but then they just don't necessarily have the time, or they just want to build up everything because they feel like that's the only thing that makes sense nowadays. It's hard to find somebody that wants to build with you. At least that's been my experience, and a lot of the guys that I'm friends with, again, we're at similar stages of life, so again, I'm not speaking on necessarily everybody, but those different stages of life are hard to come across because it's hard to find girls that are looking for the same things. Because a lot of these girls feel like they just want to maybe stand at the finish line and pick the winners. And that doesn't necessarily work long term for a lot of us. But as a guy looking for something that's real, something that's sustainable long term, I got a bug flying around, but and then I also wanted to talk a little bit about what some of these girls are running into as well, and kind of what that looks like for them is maybe they're looking at some of these aspects of they want to have that guy that's going to be a provider for them, that's going to give them that, basically that safety net, something that they want to build a family with but also can trust. It's like a lot of these only really make sense for those guys that have been living in these careers for years on end, because you kind of have to. You can't just necessarily be out, maybe you go to college, maybe you don't, whatever that looks like for a guy. I know it looks most attractive to these girls is a guy that has actually built something, right? It's not necessarily a guy that's been out. And it sucks for a lot of guys that are in that building stage because it takes so long. It takes years and years and years to get there. And a lot of guys do feel kind of invisible to these girls because it does feel like a lot of them don't really want to build with us. It feels like they want to stand at that finish line for those guys that have already built everything. But I mean, speaking for those guys, like, man, I know that we would I want to rephrase that a little bit. The guys that have built that, they really want to share that with somebody. They don't want it to just be them, honestly. Like, that's, they want to share that life with somebody, but they're now very weary of sharing it because they don't know if that's gonna even last, because that person wasn't there to build it with them necessarily. But again, I'm trying to talk about dating specifically, but on the girls' side, just they do want somebody that they can trust to provide in that long term, and that's very difficult to find if that guy hasn't been out in the world building his career for years on end, right? It's hard for them to go out and find somebody that they know can build that. But I know some of them have just found that guy that they're just like, yeah, that's the guy. That's what every guy wants, honestly, is to have a girl that just comes up to him and says, yeah, I want to build this with you, right? Because, and I guess what I now kind of want to shift into is what are the main issues and problems, and what do those look like for the different guys and girls that I've talked to. And it seems to be a lot of the same things, and those problems are kind of stemming from different areas, but they are really the same sort of problems. So on the guy's side, because this is the largest sample size that I have anyway, since a lot of my buddies are guys that have been in that space, but a lot of those problems seem to come from basically wanting to find a girl that is looking for the same things. And the stumbling block seems to be essentially finding a girl that just chooses a guy. It seems like a lot of girls nowadays have one foot in, one foot out. And that's not something that as a guy you can change. It's like, you can be yourself and show up in the best way that you can. And then maybe she'll meet somebody and she'll just go, you know, try to find that with him, or try to build it with him when she wasn't willing to with you. And that's not really anything that guy can change. The only thing that he can change is, sticking with it, trying to build what he's trying to build for years on end. And I even know a lot of guys that, those issues that they run into is, I've talked to guys that have been out there for years on end, built a family, and then have this girl go and divorce them. And then they're just like, why? Like, we've tried to build this family, three kids. Like, I mean, that can look like many different things, but I've seen it happen again and again. It's like, of these guys that are trying to build this, and then this girl just gives up on them for whatever reason. The reasons change between them, but that's everything that we don't want, right? Like, we want to build this together. That's what we want. And so I think that's a lot of what the guys are afraid of happening, because they've seen it happen so many times. And I know a lot of people, like, personally, that's happened to. And, the reasons behind why that happened changes, but I think a lot of them stem from the same thing. And a lot of that is an illusion from where it all comes from what I seem to find. But that's a lot of the problems and things that happen on the guy's side. And where do those things happen? Well, I think a lot of them do kind of stem from everything being so connected now in the digital age with social media and everything like that. It's everything is so available, but it's not even real. It's there, but it's fake. And it's like, man, we see these social media. It's like, I mean, talking to a lot of these girls, it's like, man, if a guy, like, maybe a guy is trying to go out on a date with this girl, and she has 10 other guys reaching out to her that may or may not even be real or want anything, but it's like, it seems like a lot of these issues are stemming from something like that, where, these girls can find all these different things from social media. But on the girls' side, if you have all these different guys reaching out, it's very hard to choose one, right? And I think that's where a lot of those, like, issues stem from, is how do you choose one? If you're a girl, how do you choose one, right? Because there are so many different options, and there may be another one next week. So it's like, how do you just choose one? And then how do you know what that's going to look like? Because a lot of these guys, maybe they're just an average guy, and the only guys that seem to get chosen aren't necessarily those average guys. It could be if you find a girl that just chooses you specifically, but the problems come when there is all those illusions that happen and there's not good communication. Because I think these generations, it's very hard to find somebody that actually communicates directly. It's like, it seems like ambiguity is kind of the hot topic nowadays. It's like, nobody wants to actually just be sincere and be genuine nowadays. It's hard to find that, depth of relationship. You can find so many surface level relationships nowadays, but finding one that has real depth is very difficult. And I think everybody truly wants that, but they don't even know how to show up for something like that. And so when you look at those issues that come from social media, I know a lot of the issues that girls complain about are what seems to be like, again, I think they all do stem from the same sources, but they look different for different people. So what does that look like? So for the guys, those problems could look like, when it comes, I guess what I'm trying to say is this. On the guy's side, the frustrations look like insincerity from the girls, or 1 foot in, 1 foot out, or maybe it's just insincere. Like it's kind of hard to put just specific words to it, but on the girl side, it could look like the exact same thing, but from a different area. So what is the root cause of it? So from the girl side of things, I think a lot of it comes from social media. If you go look at what is the root cause, I think a lot of it does come from social media. On the guy side, I think a lot of it does come from a lot of distractions, whether that could be something like video games or pornography, or it really could be anything. And so a girl could feel like she's trying to compete with these things. So if that girl is trying to compete with something like pornography or video games, she can never really compare to that. And in the same way, a guy can never compare to something that these girls could see on social media. And so how does that even be fixed? Well, I mean, it's hard to say, but I think the number one thing that has to happen is, at least on the Christian side of things, is focusing on Christ and focusing on staying true and trying to get those sinful things out of your life, whatever that could look like. But again, I think all of these issues kind of stem from the same few things. I'm starting to get a little sweaty here because it's 95 degrees outside, but yeah, I guess that's mainly kind of what this ramble is about. Is I think that guys and girls are kind of frustrated about, at least the guys are frustrated about the girls from a lot of the same things, and the girls are frustrated on the guys from a lot of the same things. But I think they all kind of stem from the same few things, and it doesn't seem to be getting better. It seems to be getting much worse. And again, I can only really speak from the experiences and the friends that I've had, but I have come across a lot of the same things, where I know that the guys would do anything for a girl that chooses them, that just says, hey, like, I'm gonna be with you through this, through thick and thin, right? Like, I think that's, at the end of the day, what every single guy is looking for. And on the girl side, I can't really speak to that as much, but I know that it's similar, because deep down, I think we all want the same thing. It's just hard to put it in the words, but I think everyone does want that genuine connection between all of these people, and the only way we can really find that is to return to Christ and what he wants for our lives. And he's really spelled that out for us day in and day out. We have to choose Christ and model our lives after him, because if we don't, it's just going to fall into this endless loop of suffering by our own desires, essentially, and misfortunes that we kind of put on ourselves through sin. And I think if we look at it, it's the same story all the time, every single day. It's the same issues that we keep running into. And so, to wrap this up, it's like we have to get rid of those sinful things and really try to model our lives after his, where we are choosing to live a more sincere and intentional life, as opposed to going to these cheap vices that kind of try and replicate that, but do a really poor job of it. And so, what does that necessarily look like? It's hard to say, because everybody kind of has those, different things that they struggle with or have problems with or have run into, or maybe it could be, these family issues that have come up through each generation, because they keep on getting passed down and they don't get fixed. But I think it is very similar for all of these things. And man, I am starting to get really sweaty. But I think we all do really want a genuine connection deep down, one that we can have a lot of trust in and have that deeper connection. But I think it does start with intentionality and sincerity and confronting those issues head on. Because it's never going to change if we don't. And it's hard to kind of come to terms with that for each individual. I mean, it could look like so many different things, but I mean, it doesn't take long to, all you got to do is open your eyes and you'll see these issues everywhere, running rampant. I mean, this society is glorifying sin. So how do we step out of it? Well, it has to be very intentional. And I know, at least speaking on my end, like when it comes to dating, I've been somebody who's been single for a couple years, and it's not that I haven't dated people or haven't gotten into, talking stages. I've gotten into plenty. It's just that on my side, it's like, I am not going to compromise on my values, and I'm not going to choose somebody that doesn't have a similar end goal in mind and doesn't have the same intentionality behind that. And I think that everybody has to do a better job of being intentional and understanding what their values truly are. Because if you don't know what your values are, or if you haven't taken the time to find them, you're gonna be at a really bad spot before you even know what it is. Like, you'll know when you get there, but you're gonna be like, man, how did we get here? Like, it's gonna be very problematic. And so, yeah, I think we all have to do a better job of being introspective and being very intentional with where we're trying to go. But anyway, it's kind of a lot of rambles, but kind of a lot of thoughts that I've had recently that I've tried to put together. But let me know if you have similar thoughts or if you have any comments on this. Again, this is very broad and this is basically a ramble, but it's just something that thought a lot about recently. So, and a lot of the conversations I've had with a lot of my friends and a lot of people and a lot of complaints that I've heard recently, or issues that I've seen recently, or just things that I've seen people try to avoid, really, you know. But anyway, yeah, if you've had anything similar, please let me know. I guess I'm just kind of putting this out there because it's kind of difficult to find people that actually want to confront this in the same way that I do. But if that's you, I'd love to kind of have a place that we can actually, make a difference. So anyway, thanks for watching.